And so it begins at last. Hello again, I am Blunty. Now, we've already had a few separate rumours about Fortnite coming to the Nintendo Switch. First in some leaked slides from their supposed E3 presentation, then in some data mining from the Nintendo servers and eShop themselves, and now the same thing is happening for Paladins, which is more or less a free-to-play version of Overwatch. Although suggesting that too loudly will often start fandom fights that are really pissy, so let's just think about it, not say it. Now, I've been saying this about the Nintendo Switch for a while now, since shortly after launch, in fact, when every fear and doubt and cynicism I had about the machine before launch was nuked from orbit, when in my hands actually playing games on the thing, it all suddenly made complete and absolute sense. I've seldom been happier to be wrong about something in my life than the steamrolling success of the Switch. And since that moment of clarity, I've been saying that the mass-popular smash-hit online games like Overwatch and like Fortnite made complete and utter sense on the Nintendo Switch. These types of games, and other online-only kind of games, they rely on having as large a user base as possible, and so all are designed to be as easy to run as possible, even on limited hardware. That's a large part of why Fortnite looks the way it does, and why Overwatch looks the way it does, and why World of Warcraft looks the way it does, and on and on and on it goes. By today's standards, they all look very simplistic. But all of these games, the way they play, the mechanics, they could look amazing. They could look like God of War or Far Cry 5. But they don't, because the key to having a big happy player base is to make sure those who can't afford to have recent and kick-ass PC hardware can run them, and run them really well on lower end and older hardware, so they don't feel disadvantaged, so they stay engaged with the game, so they keep playing. And as we've seen, once games like these prove themselves on PC, they'll very often move over to consoles, where there's another big player base waiting for them. Players who may not even have a PC, much less a gaming PC. Players who are used to making some compromises on graphics. PC Master Race. And then there's the Nintendo Switch, underpowered by comparison to today's existing consoles, and yet, of course, a massive success with huge sale rates. But it's devoid of these titles so far, which is weird because it is a perfect place for them, I think. It's inexpensive, it's accessible, it's easy. The TV, tabletop and handheld modes make complete sense for games like this because you'll be playing them for hours and hours and hours again, and if you're in a household where you share a TV or share a computer or something, sometimes it might be nice just to snatch it up, go handheld, while the other people in your household do other things on those screens. So you're not monopolizing them from them. And my original prediction for Fortnite was it'll hit mobile first, as there's already a massive install base there, especially in Asian territories, of players doing more and more serious gaming on their phones. And by serious I mean more than the time-killer Words with Friends and Match 3 gem games that bored office workers play while waiting for the bus. And since Fortnite hit the phone, and hit the phone really quite well actually, and has been a popular success, I've been saying that the Switch has to be next. It's gotta be next. It must be next. It's crazy that the people behind these games would make a business decision to leave that money and those players on the table, as it were. The Switch is selling crazy fast, the player base is exploding in size, and there's just no competition for that game type on the system at all right now. Fortnite can and will be the Battle Royale game on the Nintendo Switch. And if Fortnite don't capitalize on it now, you can bet someone else is already trying to be what they are. But for Switch players, there is, I guarantee you, more than one Battle Royale style game being developed for the Switch right now. And all those same things can be said about Paladins. I've been expecting an Overwatch port for Switch for some time also. Not quite with the same certainty of Fortnite, but I felt fairly sure it's probably coming. But then I feel like Activision Blizzard want to focus more on the higher-end, competitive, tournament-style player that they're doubling down on these days. And perhaps they see splitting attention to the Nintendo Switch as a more casual distraction? Or they could just be keeping it all on the DL until they're ready to go BAM! And blow everybody away, because Blizzard do like doing that. Whatever the reason, we haven't heard about Overwatch on the Switch yet. It seems like the free and similar enough alternative, Paladins, may beat them to the market. But can they get a strong enough foothold before Overwatch almost inevitably appears? Now, I have been playing a just launched and open beta game called Dauntless lately, and I've been loving it more than I thought I would, to be frank with you. It's an online action RPG, not the type of game I usually play, where every fight is a great big boss fight, and it's a bit like a far more accessible Monster Hunter with arcadey Dark Souls kind of dodge and roll stuff, and a sensible approach to being free to play. But it too, I feel, could be very at home on the Nintendo Switch. It too has relatively simple graphics. It too is easy to pick up, hard to master. It too is addictive to play for hours on end, and it too could be handy to have as a second screen experience. I've spent hours and hours and hours at my PC desk playing it, and I'd love to curl up with it in front of the TV for some sort of lower tier loot grinding and such on the Switch. Now, I'm not trying to suggest it's going to come at E3 or even by the end of the year or anything. The devs are fully concentrating on PC right now. It's open beta, it's not done, it's still a bit broken here and there, and they're still building the game out to its final form. But they have said they'd like to see a future where it's multi-platform, including mention of the Nintendo Switch. And so many of these online games, whether they're online team-based and competitive stuff like Paladins and Fortnite, or the more relaxed co-op focus and loot grindy kind of games like WoW and indeed Dauntless, online games that people like to spend hours on, sometimes with highly active play, sometimes with gentle grinding sessions, are where the Switch can just shine for this type of game. And I'm super happy to see that starting to really come together now. As much as I'm old school and I love my single-player games, I'm also eager to see the Switch have a broad and massive and bright future, as I really love what the Nintendo Switch says about gaming and gaming culture. That the game and the fun and fitting gaming into your lifestyle in a natural and elegant and easy way is much more important than who has the most teraflops and Ks. So, what games in the vein of Paladins and Fortnite and Overwatch and World of Warcraft would you like to see on the Switch? What's your favourite of this style of online game that you think would match really well with what the Switch does? I'm starting to wonder, softly, if Ubisoft, who've already seen great success as a third-party publisher on the Switch, will bring something like The Division 2, or something in that franchise, to the Switch. One of those looter-shooter kind of games. I give it fairly low odds, because those games also tend to be, fairly graphical showcases, but man, would it be interesting to see how it goes, wouldn't it? But I would bet heavily, with the looming launch of Nintendo's official and integrated new online service in the vein of Xbox Live and PS Plus and such, that we will absolutely start seeing more and more of this type of game on the Nintendo Switch. And with luck, they're done well. Because if they are done well, I think they're going to do well. Thanks for watching. I am Blunty, and I will catch you next time.